Good morning and welcome to the Foreign Press Center. It's a pleasure to have you here for this roundtable briefing with the Deputy Secretary of Commerce, Bruce Andrews, about his upcoming cybersecurity trade mission to Romania and to Poland. You've already seen a bio, so without further ado, I'll turn it over to the Deputy Secretary for some opening remarks.
Great. Well, thank you. And first of all, good morning. Thank you for joining us today for the opportunity to talk about our upcoming trade mission to Romania and Poland. Helping American businesses to take advantage of new opportunities abroad and to help build business partnerships is one of the top priorities of the Department of Commerce. From coast to coast, exports have played a critical role in the United States economy and helping to continue to grow. And it's clear that in today's global economy, American prosperity is directly tied to our ability to both open new markets, but also to work with allies in finding opportunities that are win-wins for both of our economies. That's why President Obama and our entire administration are laser focused on opening new markets to businesses of all sizes from across the country. One of the ways that the Department of Commerce helps to promote American companies abroad is through trade missions. And as you know, and as Mike mentioned, that I'll be leading a trade mission next week with 20 U.S. cybersecurity companies to Romania and Poland. U.S. cybersecurity firms are industry leaders providing cutting-edge technologies, products, and services all over the globe. And our delegation will be a real mix of companies, from large companies to new-to-market companies, as well as U.S. cyber companies looking to expand their presence in the region. A number of them are already present in the region, which is also exciting because they've already started working with various governments and companies throughout the region. So given the cross-cutting nature of this sector, the mission offers an immense economic opportunity as well as the broader strategic advantages for our companies and for the countries. Well, while we're there, we're going to participate in a cybersecurity regional summit with government leaders from across Central and Southeast Asia. I'm honored to co-lead this summit with Sorin Grindenau, the Romanian Minister for Information Society. We will also celebrate the opening of a new cybersecurity innovation center in Bucharest, Romania. Funded in part by the U.S. Trade and Development Agency and Fidelis Cybersecurity, this new center will really stand as a model and show how public-private partnership, how governments and companies can work together to effectively combat cybercrime and cyber attacks. With an uptick in cybersecurity attacks across Europe, the need for improvements in the ICT infrastructure is more important than ever before. And the United States is committed to helping our European allies protect themselves from cybersecurity threats. Because the digital economy is inherently global, I know many American companies have concerns about how new cybersecurity laws abroad will affect the way they operate, conduct business, and develop new products and services that are compatible around the world. While we're there, we will meet with government officials in order to discuss from across the region about ensuring that their cybersecurity policies are rooted in international standards and industry best practices. I will urge them to consult with their private sector when developing new cybersecurity requirements so that there's a compatibility and a partnership of how they all work together. And our delegation will also meet with local companies and business groups, including the American Chambers of Commerce in both countries, to form new partnerships and to look for new opportunities. Through the trade mission, we hope to help the economies of Eastern Europe build confidence in the business climates. This will in turn benefit U.S. companies that are already present in or looking to enter these new markets. And I would be happy to take any questions you have.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. First, I wanted to ask, why are you going to Poland and Romania? Are these two countries less safe in terms of cybersecurity?
No, it's not they're less safe. The thing that was really the driving decision is actually they're both working to be regional leaders in both cybersecurity and information technology. Mm-hmm. Both have very well-educated workforces. They have, sophistication, and they're looking to develop in these areas. I'll give you an example. The Microsoft company, Romanian is actually the second most commonly spoken language at Microsoft. And so what you have is you have very well-educated but also growing economies that are really focused on the digital economy space. And cybersecurity is a particularly important area because of where it is in that region. Both countries, and frankly the entire region, face serious cybersecurity threats, as we do here in the United States, both from nation-state actors and also the potential for cyber criminals. And so as cybersecurity becomes an increasingly not just important defense measure, but also an economic driver.
But in Romania there will be some summit, as I understood, yes?
Yes.
Then you go, first you go to Romania and then to Poland,
That's
yes?
correct. Yeah, that's correct. And the summit will be inviting cybersecurity leaders from around the region, from countries around the region, to come and join us and to engage in a discussion about cybersecurity and about not just the importance, but also the opportunity to have a dialogue with these companies who are leaders in the field.
And if I just may note, when you go to Poland exactly?
We leave, is it Wednesday afternoon, right? Yeah, Wednesday afternoon. So in Romania, Monday, Tuesday, and then in Poland, Wednesday, Thursday, come home Friday.
And do you think these Central European countries are particularly now vulnerable because of also in the context of the Ukrainian crisis? And
I mean, there is no doubt that cyber warfare has been something that's been used in various conflicts throughout the region. And I actually think every government, and they're not uniquely vulnerable to the extent that, we in the United States take cybersecurity very seriously as well. It's an important topic for governments around the world, but because they're in a difficult neighborhood, there absolutely is a focus on it as an important issue.
In Brussels, I was previously a correspondent in Brussels, and I know that for 2 years they are already discussing a new directive covering cybersecurity, and there are differences between member states and with European Parliament, and one of the issues is should American companies be covered by this directive? Do you think companies like Google should be covered by the directive? I mean, be obliged to report to EU countries' authority if they are hacked, if there is some problem?
Right. Well, so there are a number of different legal regimes we're talking about here, and one is, and I think you may be referring to the safe harbor, which essentially allows a company to operate under the rules of its own country, and for those rules, in terms of data protection, and for those rules to be respected across borders. The thing that we're very focused on as a department is how do we allow innovation to take place? How do we encourage companies to develop? How do we give them the opportunity to do that? And one of the things that we have learned over the course of time is having different standards between the United States and Europe, or having overly regulatory standards which don't allow innovation to take place. And that is a serious concern that we're constantly looking at. And recently there have been, some press statements about the desire to do more regulation of American companies, which we don't frankly think makes sense, to the extent that innovation takes place when you allow the market to work and you allow companies to develop. And so we're very focused on how do we make sure there's compatibility of standards, but also to how to have a relatively free an open marketplace that allows innovation to take place. Protectionism and digital protectionism doesn't serve countries that impose it. It has a short-term benefit, but it really stifles innovation in the long term.
But generally, do you think Europe is well prepared against
in
cyber threats?
I think I would say that there are companies that are doing it really well, but I think we all have a lot to learn from each other. I mean, I wish I could say, that the United States, that we don't spend a lot of time worrying about it in our economy as well, and a lot of time figuring out how do we better protect our critical infrastructure as we live in a more wired world, so that all of the infrastructure, and probably soon all of our homes are going to be connected, into the internet. We need to take cybersecurity. We need to be increasingly vigilant. So I don't think Europe has, I think Europe has a lot of good companies in this regard, and has a number of challenges that we all face as well.
And are these cyber threats or cyber problems, cybersecurity, covered by the TTIP negotiations?
Cybersecurity, I don't believe there is a chapter on that, and I know
You think it should be?
It's not really a regulatory issue. I mean, one of the goals of TTIP is to how to better work our two sets of regulatory systems. And this is actually something, because cybersecurity is a relatively new area, we actually have a real opportunity to have both continents work together from the beginning and look for international norms so we don't have two different systems set up. We should, if we do this right, we'll have one system with a set of international norms and a set of international understandings that we have from the beginning, rather than having two separate systems that we're trying to make fit together or work together.
And generally, do you, because in Europe now, there's less, we have the impression that it's now the priority for the US is TTIP, is the TPP, is this agreement with Asia countries. Do you think we will have the TTIP agreement before the end of this administration, and what are the main obstacles?
I think we would like to make substantial progress. I think there are a couple, and one is any time that governments change. So I think the changeover in the European government, we lost time, because obviously when you have one set of people leaving and then you have another group coming in, there's both the, no one wants to do anything big as they're getting ready to leave. They want to leave that to the next government, and then when the new government comes in, it takes time to get, get the priority. But I think everybody is very focused. We recognize how important this agreement is. We believe it's very important to our economy, and recognizing, I think there are a number of people who really recognize how important it is to the European economy. That's not to say there aren't pockets that have concern, and there are a variety of different difficult issues that we'll have to work forward, or we'll work through going forward. But I do think the United States is very focused on how do we move this agreement forward, because it really will benefit both of our economies.
And you think that the Congress will be, for Congress it will be easier to accept TTIP than TPP?
I wouldn't say easier, but yes, I think people will see, because one of the challenges in trade agreements when you have economies in different levels of development, I think trade agreements are harder. I think because the EU has very developed economies and is a very strong trading bloc, and I think it's less an issue of tariffs and other things, and there are obviously some areas where tariffs are hugely important, but there are also, if we can make our regulatory standards work together, the opportunity of TTIP to better bind our two economies together, I do think it'll, and I think Congress will recognize how much opportunity this is and how important it could be.
And to better understand the objective of your mission in Warsaw, in Poland, if you could just tell me which companies will be represented. It will be more the cyber companies?
So it's interesting, we actually have a whole range of companies. Although the mission focuses on cybersecurity, we have a number of very even small companies that are totally focused on cybersecurity, but we also have big companies like Cisco and Oracle and Microsoft who are broader than just cybersecurity as well.
But
so we have 20 companies. We can give you the list.
But what would you like to accomplish during this mission?
What would I like to accomplish? A couple things. One is, the number one thing is building bridges and partnerships between our two economies. I mean, the development and the stability and the economic strength of Eastern Europe, and not just Poland and Romania, the whole region, is remarkably important to the United States, and I think will help strengthen Europe. I think there's a great deal of opportunity in those countries to help pull the European economy out of the challenges it faces right now. So one is building opportunities for both our countries. Two is strengthening our cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is a huge challenge that we all face in this day and age, and I think strengthening the cyber defenses and the international cyber norms is something that all of us will benefit significantly from. And then third is, hopefully we'll actually get some partnerships and some deals done. Every time we take companies, we want tangible results to come out. So my hope is we'll walk out and there will be relationships that will be formed on this trip that will be beneficial, and that we'll actually get some deals done.
Okay, thank you.
Good.
Great. Well, all the questions we've got today, it looks like. So thank you very much for your time.
Very good. Thank you.
And we'll go ahead and wrap up now. So now we are off the record.